All right, this is going to serve as a breakdown for MCO 16 because rereading the document, I realized that it's not really clear on what you're doing. This is the map you're basically going to get. All I'm going to say is don't touch this little debug corner down there because that contains all my units that I'll be copy and pasting from. But your basic objective is to push U.S. forces out of this region. Obviously, I don't have anything, too close to the top other than maybe some isolated patrols and whatnot, but I'm trying to give you some room to establish yourselves because how I see this operation going is you set up your base, you have air start doing reconnaissance, maybe armor pushes with recon, a squad or two push with recon. You basically fan out and you're trying to find where the enemy's defensive lines are, and then either hitting them head on or flanking them, whatever you need to do. I'd say the river's the halfway point, and then once you start getting past the river, you're going to start running into some heavy fortifications. So keep that in mind. It's up for ground command to spend his assets however he wants, but that is pretty much the scenario. So didn't mean to go into the Zeus interface there. The basic breakdown of the convoy is you're going to have a squad spawn with every one of these trucks, and then behind these trucks, you're also going to have either a anti-tank gun or an anti-air gun. Now, these can be hitched. All you got to do is go up and then hit that. Now, a quick note on this. If you reverse, it unhitches the Vic, and you might also armor yourself and cause this Vic to fly off into oblivion, so be careful when you do that. But, once you unhitch this item and it drops, then you can get on as the gunner, and you can then push it around with this option and adjust it as you need to. But otherwise, be careful, because I believe you can also drag it around with Ace, but that is pretty much it. So these trucks also don't contain anything other than if you go into their cargo, they have 8 spots and the wheel takes 1 spot, but then ammo boxes or statics will take 2, and I'll get into that in a second. So first squad will spawn right here, second squad will spawn with this Vic, and then they've got an AA gun. Same thing, they can basically drag it around as well, but they can also get it hitched on this vehicle, and it hitches that like so. And again, it's like a towing script. Now, then we're going to get to our resupply vehicle. So breaking this down, you've got 6 boxes that contain a small amount of supply. I've also scripted them so that you can carry and drag them. Do note that some of the boxes might start a little too heavy, so dragging will still be fine. In that regard, just be careful. I made that same mistake too. Ace had an update a little while ago where they changed the button to drop so you can shoot, but also the drop button was moved to the other button, so you might do that subconsciously. You got these 2 boxes here. They have artillery range cards. That is for the mortar on the other side, but more importantly, this box can rearm vehicles or artillery pieces. So you see that they have the artillery shells right here for you to utilize. You can basically just load those into the mortar, and the mortar will have more rounds. And these boxes up here are mine boxes. If you want to basically block the enemy from counterattacking you, which, by the way, I will be actively putting planes up in the air, putting my own reconnaissance forces in the air, putting my own armor reconnaissance forces in the air. No, putting my own reconnaissance forces out. Once I think you have a fob somewhere, I will actively be trying to find it and eliminate it to put a hamper in your plans. So these are really important. Charges, you can use black powder fuses to set it off remotely, and then engineers will also have detonators to blow these up as well. But any infantryman can take those and use the powder fuses to set it on the timer. You don't need 1 fuse per. You can use the 1 fuse for all the explosives there. And the simple breakdown, these are anti-infantry. Those are anti... Oh, it says it. Okay, awesome. Now, this vehicle wasn't my first choice. I wanted to use this model vehicle, but unfortunately, it dropped them on the ground too. That's funny. But unfortunately, it doesn't have an ACE reference point, so I had to use this vehicle model instead. You'll notice it's not only just an ammo vehicle, but these are also set to repair vehicles as well. And then you have 2 mortars. You've got 3 regular Maxim guns and 3 Maxim guns with trenches. Let me show you the difference. This one, you lay down behind. Ouch. Don't know why that just happened. This one, if you get in, it sets you to stand. So I'm partially in the ground right now. But these front ones you can put on top of trenches. The other ones you have to basically put in the opening of certain areas. I also just noticed that other ammo box, it spawned the ammunition on the floor, but I assure you, if you drain the ammo of the mortar, you'll get an option to um, rearm the mortars themselves if you bring them over closer. However, I'm pretty sure if you load these in your inventory, you can also use them to fire out of the mortar. There's just a lot of different ways to do it. And then, of course, to use the mortar, I'm going to have this turned off. I don't know why that's still on. But those artillery range cards will be what you use to range that mortar there. Let me just... Wow, okay, now it gave me like 3 different wounds. 1 second. Don't want to show off everything on that right menu, but that's A-okay. Then we're going to have the Refuel Truck, which it's pretty much just a Refuel Truck. Nothing, Refuel Truck, nothing custom in there. Then we have one of the trucks with the AA gun on it specifically. Then we have another squad with a pack gun. And then we have these 2 vehicles. Now, first thing I want to show before I even get into these. If you die, you have 3 options for respawn. You have the original staging point, which is where air and tanks are going to originally spawn. Air will constantly be spawning here. The tanks, they might have a choice based off of your actions. I'll explain that in a second. Or these 2 respawn Vics. So these 2 medical Vics have been set as the respawn Vics. Now, a few additional things. One, there is spare medical in these boxes over here. And the reason I have these spare boxes is, first and foremost, these vehicles have room in their cargo. This one, I believe, has 50. The other one, which if I quickly run back over to show you guys, is going to have access to 100. So it can fit all of this stuff in here if you want to put it there, or you can take those boxes and you can load them to the other trucks. So you can have a little bit of resupply per group. But otherwise, the actual medical vehicles themselves have... Here, I'm going to have to get back into it. They have a shit ton of additional medical. Like, one of these is going to last you the entire op, in all honesty. So supply and logistics is going to be a little bit important to note in all of this. Now, another quick note. These are set as medical vehicles. They have... If we were to get back in it, see, it has multiple slots here. So any regular person can come up here. They can pack people inside. And then any regular medics, they'll be set to doctor perms inside, which means they'll do medical a lot quicker. But again, they're also set to respawn vehicles. But these are the Vics you're going to take into your fob to allow for respawns to happen in the fob. So make sure these are guarded well. Now, you got another AA Vic, you have another transport Vic with a pack gun, you got another supply Vic. Now, one quick thing, that T4 radio tower, these have one of those on it, but they're invisible. So if you want to do radio comms with anyone on the map, just stand next to this vehicle and you will be able to reach your air assets, for example. Because radio comms, if those air assets take off and they're, let's say, reconning this airfield here, you're probably not going to be able to get into contact with them unless you stay by this Vic or you're in this Vic while it's moving. Just note that it only has 2 slots to get in, so maybe Command or JTAC, who is going to be responsible for the air assets, wants to stay with that. Now, here's a second vehicle for fuel, and then you have your final tow Vic for a pack, and then another AA gun. So you've got 2 AA Vics that have the AA gun on the Vic, and then 2 that you're towing, and then I think you have either 4 or 5 pack guns. Now, you have 4 spare trucks over here and 2 spare cars, gazes. We also have 1 gaz right there. That's going to be where your 4-man recon team spawns. And then, of course, you've got air back here. We've got 4 Air Cobras, excuse me, there's an A in there, and then 4 tanks spawning, and then you have a copy of Triple R back here. I believe, yeah, so I do have a spare copy of ammo. If all things go to shit, you can, change this out and at least come back. And make sure you also do your best to keep those boxes safe, because just because the box runs out of ammo doesn't mean it's then useless. You can go back, you can then, load more ammo from the Vics, or you can load the ammo directly into the vehicle. Entirely up to you. But last thing I'll explain, we've got 3 tank crews and 3 pilots, but I've got 4 and 4. That's because for whatever reason, I've noticed over the past few MCOs that one of the vehicles sometimes has a respawn function break, and thus doesn't respawn, so I have to manually respawn it. So the 4th is just an extra debug item, essentially. Free to use, but just something to avoid that issue that I've been finding. But otherwise, you will be able to change pylons from this vehicle. I can't because I don't have the engineer perms on my Zeus slot, but that'll let you change the bomb type if you want to. And then tanks, of course, as I mentioned earlier, I will be, once you establish a fob, when they respawn, I will be dragging them over to the fob for you. I could write a script to do it, but that's too complicated and annoying. But otherwise, that is it. In terms of last thing I'm going to go check out just to show you for the sake of the engineers, scrolling up here, NTO has the engineer perms and the fortify tool. But just to reboot the mission, I just want to show you guys some of the engineering stuff on a simple level, but make sure you check that section if you're interested in playing as an engineer. So the script will auto-initialize because I figured out where I needed to put it. You've got access to a lot of different stuff here, from regular trench pieces to sandbags. Actually, hold up. Let me... Okay, yeah, nope, this is exactly what I wanted to look at too. Make sure you put your gun away when you're building, because otherwise you won't be able to select it. Do note items that cost less points, like 10 to 15 points, are only going to take about 10 to 15 seconds, but stuff that costs like 50 points is going to take around 40 to 50 seconds. Also, just, be mindful of what you're building, how you're building it, yada da. I need to remove this item because this one you can actually walk through and it's broken. But everything else is going to be fine. So you can, build little bunkers, for example, to store your munitions, your ammo boxes, your mortars, your statics that you're not using. Feel free to commandeer and steal enemy statics as well. Steal enemy pack guns if you want to, if they're still working, because you're not going to get anything. This convoy is what you're coming into the AO with. Make do with anything else you need to, but even if stuff armas, I might not be able to spawn it back, so keep that in mind. But otherwise, here's an example of the bunker. You can then, come in here, shut the door. Oh, this one doesn't have the door. My bad. But, put stuff in the corner. This can also serve as an artillery safe haven. And trust me, you're going to want a few of these, for example. But, you also have some other options like pillboxes and walls and sandbags and stuff. So, again, go ham. But this is going to focus a lot more on the artillery build. But as you can see, I've been doing some heavy debug testing to weed out issues like that. And we'll go from there. But anyway, that is a breakdown for the MCO and what you're going to be doing today. Again, communities have till 1 p.m. on Saturday to sign up. And then it goes to open slotting at 1 p.m. on Saturday when I give the message. But that should be it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you Sunday for this operation. Oh, and last thing, remember, if you're a U.S. person, daylight savings went forward an hour again, so be careful about that. That means we're going to be, for the U.S. players, it's going to be at 1:30 instead of the 12:30 start time. But I'm basing the time for UTC, so I'll make sure that's clarified the day of as well. But yeah, cheers and have a good one.